Hello there, this is the YoniPony, the most professional podcaster out there in the whole of the internet. And welcome to a new episode of Crepuscularity Discuss. Today we want to talk about why MLP. And by this we mean kind of trying to explain how this phenomenon became what it is today, as good as we can. And today with us, we are a very international cast today, because we got from Great Britain, Byter.
Blarg.
And from Northern Europe, from Sweden, Emil Rutkowski.
Closest one yet. Yeah, hi. This is my son, Leonid.
And his son, yes. And from Mexico, Jade the YoniPony.
Hey guys.
So, now, yeah, I guess we probably can start with one of our guests about their theory why MLP became what it is today, and not, for example, some other show like, I don't know, what is also big on TV? Adventure Time, or why did MLP become this one thing with this community and everybody going nuts and stuff? So, Jade, you want to start?
Okay, I think it would be a good idea for us to all start with talking about how we each got into the fandom, and then see if we can expand from there.
Fair
Which
enough.
makes sense to me.
Okay. So,
Okay.
tell us your story.
So I'll start, I guess. My Little Pony came into my life a very strange way, by way of one very legendary Tumblr known as Princess Molestia. I found it on accident. I wasn't looking for it. It just happened. And I was like, there are some things in this thing I don't understand. Perhaps I should watch it. And then I put it off for like a month. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to download the whole, as much as it has, and I'm going to watch it all the way through.
You mean
And
you
I
were
did.
looking it on Netflix or something? Wink, wink.
Of course! That's what I did, yeah!
But
I-
continue.
Watched it on Netflix. But anywho, I watched it, the whole thing. I think it was up to near the end of the first season where I started watching it. And then I just said, you know what, this is good. I like it. And then I thought I could like it more. And so I started reading a lot of things that the fans had done, watching a lot of videos from fans, and, well, here I am now.
Okay. So I guess we best way to continue is to go through everybody, how they came into the fandom. So Emil, how did it happen for you?
All right. During Christmas, we visited one of my brothers, who is a brony, and for Christmas he got the Rainbows and Water Slides. It's a pony version of Snakes and Ladders, and we played it with his son, who is 5, and my son loved the game so much. So when we came back, we started watching the show, and in the beginning it was, both me and him, and then he went to bed and I never shut down. So, yeah, I've been stuck since. And quite 1,000 kronor later, we've been starting collecting these blind bag ponies, and yeah, it's not healthy.
Byter! I believe I don't even know your story.
I started watching like halfway through season 1. I can't remember. I think the reason why was one time I saw on The Escapist that they posted up, someone did a physics analysis on MLP. And of course I went straight for the physics analysis and then went straight for the show. And I watched the show. It was pretty good. But I only really started noticing the actual fandom itself until season 2, and I only wanted to get interested in it after the end of season 2.
Okay. Yeah, and for me, I kind of came into contact with the show on a similar way as Byter, because I was following reviewers on thatgirlwiththeglasses.com, and one of those, CR to be precise, is Big Brony himself, and at some point he made retrospective video for MLP Generation 1, 2, 3, and a second part for Generation 4, and since I was a great fan of him, I watched this video and was like, okay, if CR recommends this show, I will check it out. And I checked it out, and yeah, continued watching it. This was at the very beginning of season 2. So I watched season 1, and then kind of to the end of season 2 I got into the rhythm and got the episodes as they came out. And yeah, then active I became, as everybody who follows my channel knows, with the beginning of season 3. So now we kind of know how we got here. Now the funny question is, how did this whole phenomenon, how did this whole thing become what it is today? That it is this, I mean, there are a lot of series out there that are good. I dare to say there are probably even series out there that are better than MLP, but only MLP got this really, I mean, not only, I mean, there are Trekkies and you don't know what, but even though it is a rather small show, we developed this intense fandom with hundreds, I don't know, okay, hundreds is a little much, but dozens of conventions throughout the year, DeviantArts more or less being dominated by ponies, and YouTube as well. So how does it come? What makes a MLP so special compared to other series? Why is it this one? Who got a theory?
I mean, that's a large topic to start breaking into. But I would say that a big, huge contributing factor is just it being on, the whole fandom being on the internet. Like I said, this is one of the most multicultural podcasts we've had from, well, 3 corners of Europe and one from across to Americas.
Across the pond.
Yeah. Even if there wasn't the internet, it would have had a much more harder time getting there. That people started talking about it and sharing it on forums and places here and there, and ponies just sort of sprung up everywhere. And yeah, because the episodes are online, because people are talking about it online, people started noticing it and doing stuff about it.
But I dare to say this is kind of the thing for a lot of series. For example, if you take anime, since anime needs its time to get translated out of Japanese, it also is very early on the internet, and the anime fans are very passionate as well, but they never developed this thing, even so they had to deal with the stigma themselves in the beginning. So yeah, what makes MLP different?
I think, there's a certain stigma with the very brand itself, with it being MLP and it sucking in the past, that when people hear it, they think it's going to not be that very good. And that was sort of the interesting contrast, that this series that everyone associates with not being very good and being incredibly girly was actually fun to watch for a change, which was something that, you know, someone, your friend, would show. The ponies had a unique, now quite interesting design, and the show itself didn't hugely suck. So it's something that you could sort of show to your friends or other people on the internet, and yeah, people had a reason to share it.
Mm-hmm. So, but Emil, why don't you share your theory with us? I believe you mentioned you got one.
Yeah, I mentioned, we talked before about this, but I think it's, the theory I have about that is rather about why it has stayed so popular. So I recommend we take that later. Instead, I would say that one of the main reasons it got big, because it started getting big in the US. I don't think it's anyone that can deny it, because that's the way I understood it. I'm pretty late in the fandom, but it started getting big in the US, and that's because, well, it's an 80s from the 80s, and those who grew up in the 80s, they have money now, and they have a lot of nostalgia. You can just watch Transformer movies, piece of crap movies, but they made a lot of money because kids have nostalgia connected to it. And My Little Pony has some weird kind of nostalgia. I mean, we watched My Little Pony Tales when we were kids, you know, ironically. Even back then we watched it ironically, because it was so horribly bad. But and then when it come out with a new show and people start to hear about it, I might as well watch an episode, see if it's as bad as the one that I watched as a kid. And then people get stuck. That's my theory, how it started, because it's a weird kind of ironic nostalgia.
Okay, interesting point. Jade, you got anything in this regard?
Well, let's see. A lot of what he said, I mean, it's mostly just nostalgia, just what started making it move. I mean, mothers would probably show it to their daughters, the new series, and go like, oh, look, it's new. It's not what I grew up with, but it's new. And the daughters would be like, fine, whatever, Mom. And they'd watch it, and then they'd look back and not to like it. And then later, they would. Which happens with a lot of series, but also it has a lot of like a weird 90s vibe going on in the series, which is also why it's popular with the youth of last decade, because it reminds it does have a lot of things that makes you go, hey, that looks like something I saw back in the 90s. Because I'm from the 90s, so I saw some of My Little Pony back when I was little, so I can remember that it wasn't good.
Okay.
But I did like it, so I mean, seriously, look.
Yeah.
I like the original, and I like this one more because the colors are prettier. The fuck? The colors are prettier. The world is more expansive, the character a lot better, and it catches my attention with almost every single episode. Almost.
Okay.
They don't. But I still watch them.
It's interesting for me because even though I knew about My Little Pony being around back then, and I watched a lot of really stupid television when I was a child, I actually never had been really watching it, so the nostalgia factor is not really existent for me.
Lost.
Yeah, probably. We don't know. Especially I heard season 1 should actually be watchable good, only with a little bit of 80s flair. But yeah, and I am not sure if the nostalgia really is such a big thing for the bigger part of the fandom, because there are also a lot of teenagers part of the fandom. And I believe they had been too small to catch G1, maybe a bit of G2, but well, it was not so really well done, and well, G3 don't get there. We don't know. No.
Do not speak of what we must speak.
So I guess I can kind of drop my theory now. I actually do believe it's just coincident. My series, MLP, is a good series. This is not the question. It is very well done. It has this emphasis on characters and storytelling, at least very strong in the beginning, because I don't want to have discussion with Byter about this right now. Yeah, I dodged this one. So, yeah, it had this really, it had very good formula, and I don't want to argue that it is great. It is a really great show, but my theory is why it became this big thing, this phenomenon, is more or less coincident. It could have been something else as well. For once, I believe this whole...
It was more of a snowball effect.
Excuse me? The sound was kind of...
I mean, if you think about it, it was... it came out weird. It was more a snowball effect.
The which effect? Sorry, the... Yeah, you're a little bit laggy.
It was yeah, it's the connection. Sorry, it's a snowball effect.
Ah, yeah, okay. Yeah, probably. It got this strong
Where
start
the-
on 4chan, which kind of catalyzed everything because it had this. It came into the spotlight very early on in its existence, and it exploded very early. And this is probably one very important aspect of the whole development of the fandom. This is. But still, there have been controversial shows as well, but you don't see a dozen South Park conventions each year.
Yeah, one thing to mention, like on 4chan, there is just like the ease of taking the show and making permy meme wallpaper thingies that they love to use on those sites. The art style of the show is very effective. And now we have two Emils.
Yeah. I guess I wait for the second Emil to disappear. We just continue.
Yeah, I think it's the vector art style of the show helped sell it, at least in reproducing the artwork. It was a low barrier to entry, but also made it so very quotable in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, another aspect I think that is very important for it is the stigmatization. Because the thing is, with all the other shows, even anime has been around for quite a while now, and newer, really good shows that run, I don't know, on any network, whatever, you can watch them and maybe even get some strange looks for, ooh, why is this grown adult man watching a cartoon show? But it is kind of this idea that men are always kind of a child inside and enjoy cartoons is kind of accepted by now. But with MLP, it took this whole thing a step further, because it was not just a show not really fitting for older and male people, but it was the little girls show with this very terrible idea. With it was associated with this. Why did I become dark? Huh. Nevertheless, that was associated with this really bad older generations, and so for the I'm still hanging on this dark thingy. So when this MLP thing became big and even got picked up by news like and got this negative press. This is also we got this already kind of tricky situation with enjoying this show we should not enjoy, and then came the media like Fox News and Howard Stern, and kind of putting the fandom in this negative light. And this also, when you have this, it kind of, God damn it, how to explain in English? The people. First, it was a bigger barrier to become a brony in the first place, because, or to at least a non-closet brony, because when you stand to the fact that you enjoy this show, you know, when you do this step, you know, okay, I will face hate, I will be looked at strange by people, and you think twice before you say, oh, I like the show. What was this other great show a while back, The Spectacular Spider-Man, for example. When you ask about Spectacular Spider-Man, people either didn't care or they loved it. And there were nobody like, ooh, I hate it, how can you watch it? But for MLP it was like, you watch it? What are you, faggot? And so when you become a brony and stand to the fact that you are a brony, you it is a bigger step as for most other shows. This was one of the first things. Then when you actually are part of the fandom and say it, you and stand back and say, yes, I'm a brony, you face the hate and you get closer to all the other ones because, yeah, when you have this outside, let's call it an enemy for the lack of a better way to describe it, you have this outside enemy force.
Antagonist.
Yeah, you have this. Oh, you have been on the antagonist. You were a guest on the antagonist podcast, weren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, when you get this outside this outside antagonistic force, you get closer to each other. You unite to stand against it, and yeah, this is also a factor why this fandom grew this strong, because we all everybody had to take this barrier to become a brony by facing the stigma in the first place, and then because of all these enemies, we kind of had to stick together. We had to be be very loyal to each other, because otherwise it would be we would have to stand up for the fandom alone.
The fandom is certainly much more friendly to one another and sticky together. Really. The only thing I would say, the only other thing I would say though is that there's another thing to note with the brony fandom is just that whilst we all united and whatnot, we also started creating content. It wasn't just we said we were fans of the show and stopped there. That the biggest community on the brony fandom is probably the music community.
Yeah. This is also interesting that MLP attracted this great bunch of creative people, because, for example, anime fandom has also a lot of creative people. I mean, anime fan art was a one big popular thing since the 90s, and I've also seen AMV is a term for itself because anime music videos are such a big thing. But yeah, compared to the number of animes out there, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of shows that manage to create an equal level. So in fandom, in creative fandom output, and what MLP is doing with only 3 seasons. I mean, wow. This is different. This is amazing thing, but. Yeah, I'm talking so much today. Emily, Emil, sorry, Emil, Jade.
Emily? Oh, okay. Yeah. But the theory I pointed at, I nodded at earlier, is that it's connected to the deep characterization in the show, because one of the main issues, if not the biggest issue My Little Pony has ever had, is that the characters have been flat, really flat and uninteresting. They've been so boring, there's no reason to come back. But because Laura and Faust from beginning wanted to make deep and engaging characters that show that girls don't have to fall into certain folds. Girls can be girls no matter what they do, really. Because of that, they have created characters that the main characteristic isn't that it's a female pony. The main characteristic is that they do stuff and they are female ponies. Which means that, yeah, it's pretty much, it shows that women doesn't have to be dependable on of men to have deep characters and interesting characters. So yeah, it's pretty much part of the Borshell test, if anyone has heard of it. Borshell test is when in a movie, if there has to be at least 2 women in a movie, and they have to talk about something that isn't a man. Very few, relatively, shows and movies pass that test. While My Little Pony, I have hard to find. I don't think there's a single episode that doesn't do that. Would be a friend indeed, actually. That would be probably the only episode that doesn't pass that test. I think it's part of, you know, it proposes a feminist idea and it pushes it out well. So yeah, and that's pretty much my main idea.
Yeah, it's Bechtel test, by the way.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing, what was it? Stuff like EQD and whatnot helped us certainly group together. But I think what I was going to talk about was creativity shows, or shows that spark the spark creativity in their fans. Like there are some shows out there that have a very episode by episode, huge grand plot going on, but there isn't much wiggle room for someone to create fan works or stuff, or it doesn't always spark the imagination. But some shows like MLP, I think, certainly did that in some regard. For MLP FIM, it certainly had the characters, but it also had the fantasy setting. If you think about a lot of the fandom stuff produced is on Celestia and Luna. And whilst that isn't a prevalent part in the show and is actually probably one of the weaker parts of the show, lots of people have hung on to that idea because of that, basically what that book opening thingy was at the very first on Friendship is Magic episode 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's something I said, like I have that kind of similar feeling with Futurama, in the sense Futurama never had anything really set in stone. It's a pretty zany experience, but it's really interesting sometimes to just see what crazy scenarios they get into, because it's such a huge creativity set where a set few characters and a crazy world for them to inhabit. And the same is sort of the same for MLP, though of course much more toned down than Futurama. I think that's the thing, like I would say with Adventure Time or Bravest Warriors, and maybe even my new Electrical Morals. I've only seen the first pilot episode. Is all of these aren't always the best shows with the highest grand epic plots or dynamic characters that go through arcs throughout the show. But the characters do have they are at least deeply written when we watch them. And the setting they inhabit is interesting for us to see. But the thing is, like with Futurama or whatnot, is after we got like 6 seasons or so, we've sort of seen most of the world and sort of seen all that there is to be interested about.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You've seen the entire galaxy already.
There's no big surprise when they go to the moon or Mars anymore, because we've sort of already seen that. We already know it. You know, it's basically a big Wild West on the moon with Mars University.
Yeah, and at the end of the universe, there's another universe where everyone wears cowboy hats.
Yeah, the parallel universe, the one parallel universe that exists, except
yeah,
for the
only
other
one.
ones in the boxes. But there are also the boxes. This is the other dimensions. So
yeah, but that's not another universe. It's another dimension.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
they're different.
I'm a little bit rusty on my interstellar astrophysics and phenomenons. My bad. Sorry. Terrible prepared as usual. So we are still we're kind of not really gotten to the core, I guess, for this whole thing. Still got a lot of runtime, so.
I mean, we had an interesting talk with Jade one time on one of her videos regarding previous generations. I don't know, where... Yeah, it was just like I was saying that the spark of creativity on MLP was what I just said about the characters in the setting were unique but fluid, that you could just sort of pick up Fluttershy, she has a character, and then just dump her anywhere, and you could sort of imagine what she would do. And you could sort of, you have this grand epic world that you could do things with. The thing was, with previous generations, though, was it was all blank.
100% blank. It's like blank pieces of paper. That's all they were originally.
Mm.
So that's why we have something so awesome, like we have the My Little Pony we have now because of the old one, so we must honor it in a way because of its existence, even though it was boring and bland and it had almost nothing. Almost nothing. It had a story, kinda, I think. Maybe.
I disagree on that, but
that.
yeah.
I said you could call it that. It's not that it was one, but you can call it that. Very lightly. But
No, what I mean is that we have to honor the old shows, because that I don't agree with at all.
Explain.
we wouldn't have MLP if we didn't have it before. If we didn't have the one before. But anyway, we'll forget it.
Well,
topic altogether.
I think what I've impressed upon people, like people always thought that when we talk about Laura Prowse, a lot of people sort of idolize her or just say, she did nothing. But I think she certainly had an input, and it was certainly in the right direction. I don't think it was perfect, but I'm always reminded by her initial review, her initial interviews on Equestria Daily, where they basically just asked her about what went into making the show in the first place. This was back in the day, seasons 1 and 2-ish. I can't remember the exact date when they gave the interview. But the things that she talked about was that, she just had the bland, basic toys in front of her, and instead, and she picked up some bits and pieces from the show and added to them and created stuff on top of them. That she remembered the times when she would add that personality to Rainbow Dash. I was playing around with it, and in some regard, that's what she has done with the show, and has inspired in the Bronies. Is she has infused the toys, the bland toys with her before, with character and life, and put them in some sort of story and gave them conflicts, trials, and goals. That the Bronies themselves are basically just continuations of that. Someone who is playing with Lauren's toys, playing with their little pony toys, and with their set personalities.
This is true.
I have like that with my own personal story of a while back when, for me, I played with Lego toys, and I never bothered with the set models because you build them once and then it's just some Star Wars thing or whatever, and I broke them apart again. But what I did do was I took a slab, another slab, put like 4 walls around it, and put adjustments, and made it into a spaceship thing, and I called it the Flying Sandwich. And and I took this to school. It was a very robust toy. It was mine. It had lots of little figures in it, with whatever random kit I could throw on top of them and personalities I want. So for some reason, the captain at the front always wore a baseball cap because of the glaring sun or something. And it was we just played around with it, and that was completely just, I took the building blocks and I made something creative with it. And the story I always remember from it was like my friend Joe basically walked into a Lego store and asked the men at the counter, "Can I have a flying sandwich?" I could just imagine all their bemused faces, like, "Flying sandwich? What the hell is that?" And I don't know, it's at least something I could relate to when reading Lauren Faust's earlier interviews. It's that genuine interest and pride of creating something on your own, and then people being infused with interest and wanting to carry on and use the toys for their own means, which is,
It's playing with the box. That's pretty much it. I mean, we can get something amazingly awesome. It can be whatever. I don't care. You can imagine anything you want. A playset of some sort. And you know that all of it's some in its own way. But you are going to get into that box. And you're going to pretend it's a spaceship. Because if you don't, well, the won't go anywhere.
I wasn't that cruel. It was just like, the thing was like, you had the flying sandwich. It was a big transporter. It's almost like I don't know, it's a really crude version of the Millennium Falcon, just with even more guns strapped to it for no reason, and even more randomer models inside. Sorry? Yeah, to bring it back to MLP though, it's almost very much like that. That the Bronies are now the ones who walk into Toys R Us and ask for a plushie bag. They're the ones who are now playing with their toys and saying, "And I'm going to ship Rarity with Rainbow Dash." It's that. Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason my wife started watching the show with me and our son and later our daughter, but she's quite young still. It was because when she were a kid, she collected My Little Pony toys and had a castle and lots of stuff for it. But she hated the show because even back then she thought the characters were so boring. She wanted to do something good with it, so she had created her own characters and backstories and all that. And yeah, she with an adult view, she now sees the current show, and it's probably not necessary for this series compared to the old ones.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it's always been that core character focus that has always kept me engaged, and a bit of the setting, but the interesting thing, at least sometimes with fanfics and people's interpretations of the show, is they get really focused on to just the world and the setting. And I guess that is because it's such a huge, big, open, unexplained doolally. You know, what is Celestia or Luna's place in that universe? Are they deities or not? How did things get to unveil there? What is the history? What is the past? I think that's literally what Parthenas is interested in. His favourite is the history episode, where all it does is give us a lot of exposition. And I like that when it's got a world that actually it's got wiggle room for everyone, so they can enjoy it at their own leisure.
So you're kind of saying that that's a fact that not everything is explained, that there is a lot of freedom within, or a lot of open questions within the MLP universe is also creating this opportunity for all this creativity.
The very serial style of the show may very well be part of why it is so undefined, and why there is so much room for the fandom to expand so much more than what even Lauren Faust could make. The characters such as Derpy or Lyra or Bonbon, DJ or Octavia are nothing that Hasbro created, or even Lauren. That was just, we lived in a world, we watched a world with interesting characters who seemed real, and a setting that, whilst unexplained, was at least kind of feasible. And that's why at least we could always just plonk Derpy in there, and as we see random little aspects here and there, we can change her character as ever we like.
Yeah, as one of those that you probably pointed towards that work more with the theme, since that's more what my podcast is about. I don't work with the character. I work with the theme and background and history and all, religion and all that. That's because the characters are so well developed. I mean, they're not one. We know a lot about them. There's still some, black holes in every background, but that's for them to fill. But there's enough of that that you don't really need to evaluate, because it's logical. They are logical and realistic characters, which is why so many, including myself, work more with the theme, because that got holes in it. Both plot holes and just empty space, because there's really some things there that don't make sense.
Yeah, it's also a thing that might relate towards the reception that of Season 3, in the sense that Season 3 certainly tried to do some bold concepts and trying to show us some stuff that haven't been revealed before. I mean, we went to the Wonderbolt Academy, and they put absolutely no imagination into it beyond it being a basic boot camp, and probably for some that disappointed them. It's also a question like when people talk about progression to the story and to the setting and to the characters. The show's strength has always just been how ridiculously serial and undefined things are, that it's always been about the interactions. But it's interesting that so many people now actively support Alicorn Twilight and the changes there, when her strength hasn't really been her grand story of being the student of Princess Celestia. It's more the unexplained story of how we could take that aspect and use it on our own fix.
Sorry, I kind of got distracted. The chat is talking about shipping.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Especially about reviewer shipping. So, chat, who do you want to ship Byter with?
Sack of potatoes.
This will take a few seconds until they are able to answer, so...
Pinkamena? I hope someone say Pinkamena.
And, oh great, they're shipping us.
Mostly with Digi.
And with Digi, of course. And with Cyberk!
I must be the only fan of the show who don't give a flying crap about shipping at all. I find it completely irrelevant.
I don't care either.
Oh no,
it's got no point really.
You are not the only ones. So I made this. Sorry, Byter. I'm just with one thought. I made this my thoughts on shipping video, and I got a lot of comments like "I don't care" and stuff like this. But sorry, Byter, your turn.
I was just going to say, well, it goes back to what we talked about on the shipping video, podcast, was that there's a lot of slash fics out there. People are actually very interested in creating fics where two people are in a relationship or, you know, are interacting with one another. And yeah, a slash fic is just that, or a ship as you call it in the fandom, is just putting two characters together in a romantic situation. So I don't know. Slash fics shipping is just another expression of someone's interest and creativity in regards to interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why people do it. I just find it completely dull. I mean, I don't see it being that relevant to this show. That's pretty much my main issue with it. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just not interested.
If the show wanted us to have any relationships in it, they would be there. Can you guys hear me at all?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Like the only, the only real couples that we know of are
Cadence and Shining Armor and the
Cadence
Cakes.
and Shining Armor, the Cakes,
That's it.
Jet Set and his wife. I don't remember what her name is. Well, obviously Twilight's parents.
Fancy
right,
Pants, Fleur de Lis.
Parents.
Fancy Pants.
Fleur de Lis and Fancy Pants.
Kind of
And,
Big Mac, surely.
I think those are the only ones.
Yeah, but there is no
Kind of.
I believe it's they are not putting a big emphasis on shipping in MLP intentionally, because G2, the My Little Pony Tales, were all about shipping, and this is what makes this show so weak, that it is just this insane insanely, oh, it's for girls like relationships, so let's make a whole show about it. And this backfired bad, because yeah, for once boys do like relationships as well, FYI. And the second aspect is that God, I'm having really problems concentrating today. The second thing is that girls do not care about boys 24/7. There are other things in a girl's life and interests. So yeah, a show.
Yeah, you know,
Someone
like
sounds
makeup,
bitter.
clothes and shopping. Movies and
No, I mean, My Little Ponytails just showed a bunch of girls being boy crazy all day long, and nobody can stand this. So.
well, no, I mean they chose. That's what girls do when they're like 13, and it's so annoying. I was there. I remember. We do that, but
24/7.
we don't want other people to remember that.
But did you do it 24/7?
Yes, I did.
Sorry, I asked.
It's embarrassing. embarrassing, but I did, and I know young girls who are that way, and I mean, in fact, on Skype right now, I have this friend of mine who I'm trying to do normal RPs with her, but she keeps going back to, I want to be with my husband, I want this to get to the relationship already, I want to snuggle, and I'm like, shut up! I don't care about your relationship. And it's just, it's something that's on so many minds of so many girls that they think that that's what everybody, all of us girls cares about. But I think that's also, it's because that's the one of the few things that the media just grabs and makes it so that that's stereotypically what girls do all the time. You know, shopping and makeup and boys and shoes, because that's completely different. It's not shopping. And fashion and pink and princesses, and that's what we are.
Yeah.
Well, it's always
according to the media.
yeah, and it's like there's only one kind of, well, there's very few demographics of sort of girl stereotypes. Like if you're a guy,
And that's why My Little Pony is that's probably one of the reasons why it's so popular. I mean, it shows these stereotypes, but they're done well. You have the party girl who annoys everybody, but she's still really friendly. You have the obvious tomboy who wants to do something that's very boyish. You have the fashionista, and you have the bookworm, and you have the shy one. These are all the stereotypes that you get in media, the big ones, the only ones that you see in media, and they are done well.
Notice how even she didn't mention Applejack. Everybody ignores Applejack.
The farm boy, girl, whatever.
Did you mention her? Did you mention the farm girl?
no,
No,
I
okay,
just
yeah,
mentioned it.
because otherwise
Oh
I
yeah,
would
the farm girl.
I would have said
Girl.
that, well, she is in personality though. She in personality is very hard-working. It's just sort of everything she does is Apple-related, which is sometimes relates to her being a background.
Uh-huh.
Somebody
You
is
just
watching
forget
my
about her
movie.
because she hardly does anything. And I was thinking about her all morning and I forgot about her. I'm sorry, Applejack. I'm sorry. I love you.
DigiBrony,
What do you want, Digi? What do
no-
you want, Digi?
yeah, I believe
Hello.
your apology came later because of the delay for the stream. So he was like, Jade, what are you doing? And then you were apologizing, and now he is kind of satisfied. Yeah.
Be satisfied.
Yeah,
you have to wait.
But I found a nice segue. Yeah, because this is another aspect of the popularity of this show. About what is so great about it. Aspects that you take actual stereotypes like you would expect them in this show, but you give it a nice twist by giving them death nonetheless. And now somebody say something.
What?
I have to start saying more bad things about Applejack.
I heard
Just to watch him go crazy.
I mean, I heard earlier you said like that you don't care for shipping because it'll never happen in the show, but a lot of the stuff we do in the fandom, the music, the fan-made characters, a lot of the fics, the crossovers, a lot of the fan art, that'll never happen in the show.
No, of course not.
And I don't see why that really undermines if someone's made a really interesting crossover or fiction or artwork.
Stop playing with your microphone, Byter, please.
I like doing it.
Yeah, but it's making sounds on our end.
I like doing it. I'm nervous.
Man, I fiddle with things. Okay.
Then go grab something else.
Anyway, could you actually hear what I was saying there?
Yes, kind of.
No, this was just something of earlier I wanted to note. that just because shipping isn't going to actually probably happen in the show, even if AMY said he wanted it in the shipping video.
Yeah.
I don't think it's pointless for some people to enjoy it if they enjoy doing that.
I guess...
It does get some people into the fandom.
It
gets people's attention.
Yeah, but even so, my shippings I was asking for are both pretty unrealistic, I guess. I can see. I guess they will do this sooner or later because they are apparently. Digi, this is. Oh, whatever.
Just ignore him.
No. I actually asked the chat about if they have certain other aspects the four of us didn't mention so far. And
all I read was Sonic vs. MLP.
Yeah, exactly. To see if there are a few other ideas out there we could talk about. But yeah, it is good. We already agreed on this one, Digi. Otherwise, none of us would be here. Okay, once again I lost track of thought. What was I talking about?
The stereotypes. Female stereotypes.
No, something Byter said.
That's something Byter said?
Yeah, and
he says things?
No, I don't believe so.
I'm sure it's just
he can jump back to shipping.
Yes, shipping, right. We again back to shipping, sorry.
I was going to say, though, that the thing with a lot of people going into the show, though, is they don't just watch, like, 2 episodes and instantly fall in love with it or anything. It's more... I don't think the show is absolutely great. Like, that's always the thing, like, if you want to show someone an episode to get someone into the fandom, there isn't, other than, you know, the 2-parters in Season 2, some real great standout episodes that you can sort of show the person and tell them this is why people love the show. It is very much an average show in the sense that it spends a long time at the very beginning of it just introducing its characters because it thinks its characters are important and it paid a lot of due attention to that. It's not because the show is just great with a big capital letters blazoned, you know, in the background while you're watching it. It's more just it's a unique, interesting, good world that you build up engagement with. Yeah, Jade?
Yeah, I actually have a problem. Yeah, go first.
I forgot.
Emil, your chance. Go for it.
All right. Interception. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a problem I have when I have people. I spend some time with other nerds, with children, often board game nerds, and when we play board game here and my kids are away, I often have My Little Pony on to distract them so we can play, and then they watch off the corner of their eye. They watch the show and want me to recommend one episode to them, and it's really hard. Because I don't want to start with the 2-part that starts the show, because I don't think that's fair, because the show doesn't pick up in the first 2 episodes. It's not fair to the show, but it's not fair to prospective fans to show some episodes that are really funny, but without a connection to the rest of the show, they're not as good. For example, Art of the Dress. By itself, it's one of my favorite episodes, together with the show, but by itself, okay, it's a good episode, but it's not a good one to recommend fans with.
To start with, yeah. Yeah, and I agree. The first 2 episodes are, 40 minutes of exposition and establishing the whole status quo. The rest of the show drives on or starts off, and but it has not really the charm later episodes already got. So.
It was a bit clunky.
Yeah. It is only a good starting point for somebody who is willing to go through with it. But if you are skeptical, it's not the best, because it hasn't reached its greatness yet. It is still too busy establishing everything, and this is totally fine. But yeah.
Well, Season 1 never had the it had an EI rating, so it had to always try and prove itself as educational and be really reserved on any action-y things that he included. So the first whole episode is just Twilight enters the place and she meets them. It spends just whole 20 minutes on them just walking around and interacting. And the second episode, the trials, supposed trials they put through or whatever, it hasn't got much teeth behind it. But I think the big saving grace of the show has always just been the thought and the depth put into the conversations. Like, it's something like I had with one of my favorite series of like what was it, Digimon season 1. That it isn't just the characters aren't doing that much on screen. That for the most part in season 1 they're sort of standing around talking to one another, but they made the talk interesting and real. Sorry?
That's all they're doing.
Yeah, it's that a lot of the time in season 1 all the characters do is sort of walk around from place to place and talk to one another. But I think it was the depth of the work they put behind them talking to one another and interacting, and the stories all eventually the later ones, they had some really good stories with those characters. That was how it helped me at least get interested in the show for season 1. I didn't really notice the fandom because it was just something I watched here and there.
Yep, still a little bit in the chat. Sorry. So, what have we got so far? Yeah, we kind of talked about the characters as a great asset or a great success factor.
It just ties into what I just said then, was that it's great characters well implemented.
Yeah. Then we got the kind of loose end, the open, not everything is explained, so it leaves a lot of space for fantasy. Also, the show has a great music, so this is pretty much self-explanatory, where how the music, the MLP music scene became this close and so this great. And
no, we haven't actually talked about what the music in the show was like. Like the very first musical we come across is Gigawatt the Ghostly, which isn't particularly the most memorable songs.
No.
And we have the baking the cake scene song thing.
Cupcakes, the sweet and sugary cupcakes. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was singing and it was zany and stuff, and it was Pinkie Pie. It wasn't really something that you would go to the show for or greatly remember. Pinkie Pie doing it all through song was a little bit odd in the two-parter. No, the one that people always mention is more Winter Wrap-Up or At the Gala.
Yeah, Winter Wrap-Up was the reason I stayed with the show.
The big musical number.
Yeah. And the thing is, at least those musical numbers serve a huge part in what the episode was about. You know, Winter Wrap-Up was all about, Winter Wrap-Up, and that was what the song was about. It was introducing the fantasy thing that they were doing. The Grand Galloping Gala, well, it was just them saying, we're pleased to be at the gala and these are our dreams in song form. The gala is mostly brought off from working off their characters and a whole season's worth of things, and it had a very big, huge sense of pomposity and sincerity to it. Whereas Winter Wrap-Up, I think a lot of people love that one, and I think it's just because of how catchy the tune is. It doesn't actually... It just serves its role in the story, and it's a really catchy tune.
There's one thing that would always take me back to that song, and that's actually the beginning of it, because of two reasons. Rarity being as vain as she can ever be, and the word hoofsies. I will never stop loving that word, hoofsies.
Oopsies.
It's so awesome. It's the same thing. It's really put Pinkie Pie as a character down. Just her short line in the beginning of the song. Actually, I would say Applejack, Rarity, and Pinkie Pie all have the starting line is just short introduction of that character. I would say that Winter Wrap-Up should probably have been earlier in the show, but Yeah, I could actually seriously do a long video about why that song is great in so many ways, and still not my favorite song.
Do it.
I think, yeah, it's the thing with it at least was that the songs punctuated sometimes things that be quite boring to just do. Like arriving at the gala, if it was played normal, would be probably quite boring. It's just them getting out of the coach and walk into the place. If they did Art of the Dress, it's just Rarity making dresses. If you did Winter Wrap Up, it's just exposition.
I don't agree with Art of the Dress, but otherwise, yeah, I agree.
Well, I said that if you made Art of the Dress not a song.
Yeah, somewhat. I'm with, I think it was Brony Curious who had the critique, the critique of the creator. It's the creator's plea for help, pretty much.
Yeah, she is creating stuff. She's making the dresses. Like I said, though, that if it wasn't a song, though, then it would be sort of her sitting at the table making the dresses and saying, "Oh gosh, isn't this a hard work thing to do?" It would be much more awkward or harder to do a screenplay for it if it wasn't a song.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, and instead of boring exposition, we get a pretty great song. So
yeah, it works. Yeah. The thing is always, though, that they punctuated the thing and set the tone for how the thing was going. So after the dress, it first has her being creative, but then she gets tighter and tighter. And they change the song when they ask for the changed designs. So it keeps a thematic thread throughout the episode. The Grand Galloping Gala is just it's showing off their the grandness of the gala that they imagine through a big, huge, grand choir thingy. And Winter Wrap-Up is just the whole point of the Winter Wrap-Up thing is them all trying to go around having fun, cleaning the wrap-up up, or at least it comes across that way. And that is then contrasted with Twilight failing at everything.
Mm.
Not knowing your place.
Yeah. Sometimes the things, though, like the failure song in the Crystal Empire. Anyone remember that one?
Yeah.
The one where Twilight just sort of...
I remember that I don't remember it.
It's so forgettable because...
Wait, which one did you mean? Sorry,
the opening one. That's just then done a reprise at the end.
Am I prepared?
I wouldn't say forgettable. I
can't remember it.
I can remember it a bit too well, but then it's probably because I've seen every episode at least 10 times by now, except 2 of them because they're not that good episodes. But yeah, I would say it's not a great song, but I don't think it's bad. It's a lot. There's several songs that are worse, much worse.
The thing is with that one, though, is it is so forgettable and doesn't really play much role at all in setting up the feels of the show. It's just
a musical number for the sake of
I
a musical
wasn't
number.
prepared for this in a weird, awkward, just operatic talking voice.
It's kind of a recap of the show for those that jump in at the newest season, I would say, because you gotta remember it's still a kids show. Kids who are too young for the early seasons. It's still 1 season per year, so
well,
it acts as an introduction to her character.
Yeah, but it's only Twilight. What about all the other characters? Because
but in the Crystal Empire, she's pretty much the main character. The other are background ponies. Yeah, but not entirely the background, but they're sidekicks more than they are.
I'm not sure even it doesn't introduce. It doesn't introduce her character, and if you're going to introduce her character, you do that right at the beginning. And that right at the beginning, we have the and the flying treehouse and absolute craziness.
Yeah, and this already did the job pretty well.
Well, I think it was a bit overblown. It's sort of jumping straight into the character acting crazy, which threw me off when watching it first time. It wasn't a good intro. And I don't think the song is really about her character. It doesn't say that Twilight's the bookworm, like, at all. It doesn't... I guess they do her with the math thingy, which is kind of random and silly. Like,
It's,
no one could sort of just do that click. Oh yeah, I could totally know. Or does she remember the number?
I guess the thing with the song is...
but you first.
The thing with the song is that I guess it is, it's basically telling how Twilight, it's presenting Twilight's insecurity in facing these tasks she just had been given. So, but this is pretty much all we get.
That was the thing. It set up her. It was a big, huge song talking about her insecurities, but as it stands, we don't actually know what the testing is yet, and all we've been told is, oh, there's a test, and it's like, oh, there's this thing, and she goes, I am now insecure, I'm insecure.
Yeah, but that's based on her character. She's been shown to not be able to have a hard time to handle things outside her box. Something we've discussed in the past, you and I. Yeah, and I mean, the song is pretty characteristic for her. I agree that it doesn't feel much purpose, but I don't think it's out of place either. It's just there.
It's
There's one line I don't really like, and that's "My heart is pure." Okay, come on, that's so self-important. Oh, I really hate that line.
I was prepared to do the best. It was just so forgettable because it didn't really do anything. And that's the thing I had with a lot of the songs in season 3 is that they didn't have that creative spark or edge or feel that the previous seasons have engendered through their songs.
Yeah, but I mean, season 1 had a couple of forgettable or just bad songs. The Grand Galloping Gala song and the Ticketmaster. That song is...
No, I've already cited the I cited 2 was the Giggle at the Ghostly.
No, I want to say that the worst song in time. Okay, it's meant to be bad, but it's still so bad that I can't rewatch the episode, and that's the Showstoppers song. Oh my god, I hate that song and episode so much.
Though the point of that episode was indeed that they were doing the song bad on purpose.
Yeah, I know, but the entire episode is bad, and it becomes even worse when it's tainted with that song. They're shown in what's the name of the episode where they go to Wild West Town? What's the name of the episode?
Over the Barrel.
Exactly. They show there that they can make a bad song while still being entertaining. But the Showstoppers is just bad.
I think it's primarily though that it's the context within that song was portrayed, because it was a bit of a okay episode.
But yeah, Jade, what are your thoughts on is the music a success factor or not so much?
Music. Well, if you're thinking about exactly how important the music has become, I mean, you guys just talked a really long time about the music, and I really couldn't get in because I don't have any real opinions on the music. I mean, the music's good. I like the music. But I can't be thoroughly analyzing the music because I'm not good at analyzing music. But the music is really, really to the point in some places. The music is used to express something that would be boring to watch. Like, as you guys were saying with Winter Wrap-Up, the whole point of the song was for us to see and hear in a way that was very entertaining what they do every single year to get rid of the snow and the ice and to make everything warm again. And that's one of the reasons why the songs are so much fun, because they have a story in said songs. And this is why you can do so much with them, kind of. I kind of lost what I was saying.
I think, well, I always just argue that the best songs have always had their place within the story. I think, though, that the whole, what we talked about originally was the music fandom. There is a lot of people who have taken the songs, remixed them, or that's not just the only music that's been created, though. There's the YouTube groups. There's the ones where they just take bits from characters singing and splice them together into their own songs. And there's things that have absolutely nothing to do with the show beyond them being inspired by the characters, or even being inspired by the fan characters.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, I think it's more just the grand creativity of the show has inspired a lot of musicians, and because there's other musicians making music on the show, for all of them to start making brony music.
Hmm.
All the remixes that started it all.
Yeah, people started liking to remixing the show and taking little audio clips and using them in their music, and that started off the snowball that turned into the music community as it is today.
Mm-hmm. Oh well. So...
I'm sorry if I look distracted because I gotta hold one of my plushies and he's dying because it's so cute.
Okay, but I believe we pretty much tackled...
what you guys were talking about, the music.
Yeah, but I guess we pretty much tackled a lot of aspects that were important for MLP success and the fandom to grow into it is what it is today. And yeah, I guess, I don't know, final statements. What made MLP the big phenomenon? So, okay, I kind of start with my final statement since nobody else wants to go. Yeah, as I kind of recapping what I said earlier, that in my opinion it is, there have been a lot of success factors for MLP, the fact that it is simply a good show, that yeah, we came across this part that it has this potential to spawn creativity, which is pretty important for it. It has this stigma which kind of brings the people who who become fans to stick to each other. It's kind of like, yeah, take it or leave it. And so the guys who stay are the ones who are willing to put up with all the negative aspects. And yeah, the time was kind of ready for it. So I believe it could have been another show. MLP was there at the right time, in the right place, and had the right composition in it. And so people liked it, people got brought together by it, and yeah, stuck with it. And this is how this community started out, and now it developed a life on its own. So I guess the community will be there after the show ended for a long time. Next one.
Yeah, I mean, just look at Firefly. Similar situation. I would say, even though it was shorted down earlier, that it's a well-defined character, a world that we know the basics of, but not much else because, well, such a short show, and a pretty rabid fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So. Yeah, the show itself had the interesting stigma of being MLP and it actually being not that bad, which is why people started talking about how amazing it wasn't that bad. And yeah, it had the stigmatizing effect on other people and caused them to form a group and community. I think once people started sticking around and watching the show and stuff, it does grow on you after a while because of the genuine sense of creativity it engenders in its audience. And that is very much seen by the huge numbers of fan arts and productions and things that people do out there. It's just genuinely a snowball effect, and it's certainly been helped along by the media reporting on this so-called brony phenomenon, because it is indeed, from its very starting origins, an interesting different fandom to suddenly be springing up.
My turn? Okay.
Yep. You're the last one left.
Yeah, I'm the last one left. Well, okay. It's basically what I think. It started all out because of mainly the nostalgia factor, and it just snowballed from there, and that's what made it such a big giant thing that it is now, where you can just anybody, any girl, any woman, any man, any young teenage boy can say, "Mommy, mommy, I want a pony," and it's kind of okay. Not all the
I
way
have a
there,
hard
but
time a
it's
teenage boy
getting there.
using
You know,
those
there's
words.
still, you can't exactly say, "I want a pony." Oh, you'd be amazed. The things that I've heard. But mainly it is what we've all said already. I mean, it's got so many factors. There's so much that you can just try to analyze and try to get to the core of it. But in the end, it's just that it is a good show. They got it out on the air at the right time. You know, everything just happened in the right sequence so that we ended up with this wonderful fandom that we're all in now.
Yeah. If I just may add to that very shortly, one final thing. This is actually such a huge subject that also you could legitimately write a master's thesis about if you did proper research and all that. You know, did a proper academic study on it, because of it's been, you know, how social media interacts compared to history and all that. So. Yeah, I would say this is pretty hard to do even in the short time, even though we pretty much exhausted subject because we haven't really researched it that way. It's hard to really pinpoint, you know, the actual sources.
If someone was like making a video,
Byter, you're doing it again.
Yeah, they could always have the chance to go back and look at statistics.
Oh well, but yeah, we kind of got our final statements. So I guess we finish up the main podcast at this point, as the last few weeks as well. This week will have an after show as well, so stay tuned on the live stream. Even so, saying right away, we decided to limit the number of people because last time we had 10 people for a long time and the conversation got really hard. So yeah, we going to introduce 6 people limit, and we are kind of going to switch people out in between so that it is not the same people talking all the time. So, but yeah, I give a big thank you to Byter, Emil, and Jade, and of course to the chat as well for sticking with us for all the time, for the whole time. And yeah, stay tuned for the after show. See you soon.
See you.
Lord.